Hello everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to the channel where we are playing with Pink and Main's Crafty Courtyard box. This is their kit for the month, and the month of November is florals. So we are going to focus on letting the kit work for us. So we get all of these amazing things in these kits, especially Pink and Main, which comes chock full of all different types of things. So we want to focus on how we can best utilize our kits. So the first thing I'm showing you here is the color theme for the kit. I'm going to go through the cardstock so you can see the pretty colors there. We're going to go through the embellishments, stamp set, all that good stuff. So while I'm showing you up on screen, I'm going to kind of talk about how I was inspired by this kit. So I know that florals are not something that I have, it's not really my strength in the type of cards that I make, but it's something that I really want to get good at, particularly coloring them. I like to watercolor florals because I feel like it's forgiving, and natural florals have a lot of just beautiful different colors so you can kind of mix easier. But this stamp set here and this paper pad, by the way, side note, is really pretty. Like, I don't know that this paper pad is everyone's style. It's not something that I would have gravitated toward, but once it was in my hands, I was like, wow, this is stunning and just really bold. And so I really appreciated working with that paper pad because, again, it was kind of outside my comfort zone. So I really liked how I was pushing myself sort of to that creative edge. So the stamp set, we're going to get to it in a second. I'm going to show you it is a double layered stamp set, which I thought was so fun. But with different inks, you can actually play that up a bit. So first, though, let's focus on these two cards. I pulled out two pieces of pattern paper where I felt like they did the talking for the card. They had like a center portion where I can put a sentiment, and they just really had a very kind of self-serving type of paper, if that makes any sense. Just kind of, I'm just going to go with a sentiment, and that's what we're going to focus on. So I really wanted to do that, but I felt that if I just stamped a black sentiment on that cardstock, it would have gotten lost. And so I'm taking to this wonderful technique of white embossing powder on black cardstock. And I'm going to heat set that with my heat tool. And then I was like, well, you can cut this out in a rectangle and put it on your cardstock. It'd be great. But I feel like when you bubble cut things, it adds such a pop to the card and to your sentiment. And quite honestly, when you're bubble cutting like this, which has now been dubbed the new name, it's bubble cutting, it actually is very forgiving, and you're not really going to notice a lot of the mistakes that you make. So I encourage you to try. So now I'm going to pull out some of those wooden embellishments that were in the kit. And I have this really pretty teal sparkle embossing powder. I believe this is from Simon Says Stamp from a kit a long time ago. And I'm pulling out my silicone mat. This is a heat-friendly surface. Got this fairly cheap on Amazon. And I'm just going to heat set that. Now, one of my concerns was I had some embossing powder on my silicone mat, and I thought, boy, if I heat set that, is it going to stay forever? No, it wipes away clean. So right here, I'm going to show you up close how you can get. Now, this was about 3 layers of embossing powder on those butterflies. So keep that in mind. It's not a 1 layer and done type thing. Okay, so now I'm going to take out some of the twine. In these first two cards, I used a lot that came in the kit, a lot of the embellishments, because the thought went behind it to have these products work together. So I really wanted to take advantage of that. And so that is why you see me using the embellishments, you see me using the twine, and obviously the stamp set, the cardstock. And so really, when you get a kit, lay it all out in front of you and take a look at how things coordinate together, because the designers of the kits do that particularly for you, but then you have the opportunity to create based on what was laid out in front of you. So yeah, so I really found that it was well thought out, well planned, and again, I'm just trying to play up as much as I can with the stuff that came with the kit. So I'm going to lay down the first one. The first sentiment is going to be in the center of the card. The second sentiment is going to be on the bottom. You'll see that in the still photos. That'll be up here in a second. But I am going to pop this up on foam tape. Whenever I use twine, I like to pop up on foam tape because it allows the cardstock to lay better on my panel or my base. If not, I get a little bulk where the twine is, especially when you're wrapping it around as many times as I did. Now I take out some of the some crystal sequins that I had in my stash. I use up the sequins that came in the kit, so I needed some additional stuff. So here I chose some kind of bubble ones, and then here I chose some crystal type sequins, or gems I should say. So that'll do it for the first two cards here that I've made. Just kind of getting the creative juices flowing and getting excited about this kit. So we're going to move into the second card. And so the second card, or I should say the third card, because this is the first two cards. But the third card, I wanted to see what this layered stamp was all about. Sometimes you just want to stamp with some ink. And this is what I love about this stamp set, is you can either color it, which I do not in this video, but you can color it yourself, or you can put the inlay stamps and just ink. But we are going to play up those inks a little bit because I have some ink from Catherine Puller here that in different shades of the color. So first I'm using the lightest green, then I'm going to go in with the medium green and and I'm going to dab away some of that so I don't get harsh lines. Immediately I get shading next to those, and then I'm going to go in with a really dark green and I'm going to dab away again just to kind of minimize those harsh lines. And when I stamp it out, you can see I'm really building up some nice fun shading. And I'm not doing this with markers, I'm doing it with inks. Now if you only have one color, I go back and do it again. If you only have one color of ink, you can try to stamp it and then do the same thing in the shaded areas and ink it up again and again and again, and you can build up that color. Even if it's just one color, you can build it up to get a little bit darker. So on the flower itself, I'm going to pull out some ink daubers that I keep in this little case here. It's just keeps them all nice and neat, and I'm going to put those aside because I'm going to be using purple for my ink colors. Now I'm going to do the same thing with a light, medium, and dark. And I noticed that same thing I did with the leaves, I had to do the full set two times, I believe. So lightest color, medium color, darkest color. And I started to notice this first one, I didn't think I lined it up perfectly, so I went back and realigned my flower. So then I'm going to go in, this is my medium color, and my ink dauber is really great too because it already does kind of that minimizing of the harsh lines because it's a sponge, and so you're kind of sponging the color on. I couldn't really go direct ink pad to stamp because I guess I could have and then wiped away some of the color, so you can try that as well. But I opted to just put it on with the dauber. So here I'm going in with the darkest color, and I'm just going to hit the center portion of that. And I'm liking the way it's looking, but it is kind of blotchy. So I'm going to go back through and do the whole process once again. So here you can see with the lighter, and there it smooths it out almost immediately. So kind of putting that last layer over. And I think I added a little bit more of the dark, but I wouldn't say it was necessary. You know, I like the way that that final piece really just kind of smoothed it out. But I went back in last time with the medium color and just to kind of set it. So there we go. So we have our color done. Loving the way that's coming out. I'm going to take some yellow Catherine Puller ink here, and I am going to use the stencil that came with the kit. I love when a kit comes with a stencil because it builds up my stencil stash, and stencils are so fun to play with, versatile, and inexpensive. So I'm a huge stencil fan. So I'm going to go through, and this is a very light kind of stenciling. It's a very light background, which I like, and I chose yellow because the people in YouTube land tell me that yellow is a complementary color, specifically Kelly Latavola. So complementary to me means that they complement one another, but I think on the color wheel it means they're opposite, right? So I'm learning. Okay, so that's why I chose yellow, and it did really look nice together. So the purple and the yellow. I'm going to use a Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle border or die to cut that down, and then I'm going to make this glitter cardstock my backing. But if you've watched any of my videos, A, you know I'm cheap, and B, you know that I don't like to waste perfectly good glitter cardstock, and it's not going to sit behind my panel for the rest of its life not being used. So we cut out that frame so that we can use it for other things. Yes. I'm going to stamp out Thinking of You in black VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, my favorite ink for sentiments. And I'm going to use some really strong score tape here in the 1/4 inch size to put my card panel on my frame. It's glitter cardstock, so I want to make sure I don't run into any issues when it comes to, you know, stick. So I didn't use liquid glue for that. I did do a sub-sentiment off screen, and it says, thinking of you and sending my love. So I don't usually do a sub-sentiment, but I thought that was really pretty. And I added some of the sequins that came with the kit right to it, just to pick some of those colors that match, so pink and purples. And there is the finished card for this one. Love that layered stamp. It's really fun, and it's not too many layers. It's just enough. All right, so I'm going to move on to now a shaker card. I haven't done a shaker card on my YouTube channel in a very long time, so we're going to have some fun today and make a shaker pouch with a new fun product that I picked up. And yes, I have some old plastic in my hoarded stash. You know, the stash where you can't get rid of this because one day you're going to use it? Proven. Using it today. So I pulled this out and I cut away this pocket, and I am going to fit this to size because I am going to make a shaker pocket now. Some might have used a fuse tool in the past or score tape, but no, today I am going to be using something else. I'm going to cut it down to size, and then I'm going to fill it with all my goodies. So that Pink and Main sequins pack that came with the kit there, I put that entire thing in, and then I added some more sequins to it just to kind of just give it some more love and more shine and sparkle. Now I'm going to pull out a bag sealer, you know, like a chip bag sealer, and I am going to seal up my pocket, my little shaker pocket. I'm telling you, this thing is amazing. How do I know? Because I did a shaker card class for the Collective Creators, and I used it so much in my craft room. It's incredible. So I don't know how I haven't seen this or used it. If people are using it out there for their shaker pouches, I'm under a rock because I have now joined you. It's an awesome product. Also, it's USB chargeable, so no batteries, and it's cordless. So yeah, you're going to be a shaker card making fool if you get this thing. Okay, anyway, so look at how great this is, and it moves really, really well, and I have freedom to kind of put my card together at my leisure, and I'm not messing with a whole bunch of shaker bits flying all over the place. You do need to still put foam tape around it so that it gives it some space between the cardstock and the top, and that way your card will move. Now the shaker bits move so flawlessly. Okay, here I was at a crossroads. Do I put a white shadow with a black thanks or a black shadow with a white thanks? And so I'm letting you see the difference. Boom. There it is. The moment I put it down, I was like, yeah, wasting my time with a white bubble. So now I'm going to place this down. This die is from Paper Rose, I believe. And I'm just going to place that right down. Makes my card pop. I wanted to use thanks because I need more thank you cards. And that's my little piece of my panel. I'm going to back that on some pink cardstock that came with the kit. And then that will be our finished card right there. So love a shaker. Super excited about that little bag sealer. You might see a lot of shakers on my YouTube channel coming up. Bear with me. All right, so there we go. Finished close-ups. Loving the shadow look of those dies. I love a good die that gives me a shadow. So this is my last card here for this video. I'm going to take out this black cardstock. It has a texture on one side and smooth on the other. although there are still the circles on the back. It's almost like the debossed side, if you will, but it is smooth. So maybe not quite debossed. But I'm going to place that down, and then I'm going to stamp out in Versamark ink that flower, and I'm going to heat emboss it with white embossing powder. So I thought this was going to be a little bit of a different take on it. Plus, I wanted to play up that cardstock because the cardstock theme is kind of like bold colors with black and white. And so I'm just going to keep rolling with that. So I heat set that, and then I'm going to use the scraps that I used previous to this card. So all the pieces that I've been cutting down for other projects in the video, I'm now going to use for my last card here, which makes my heart happy when I don't have to throw that stuff away or let it sit in my stash for years. So I am going to figure out, how do I want to use all of this pattern paper on one card? This is really outside my comfort zone here, but I'm going to go for it because I've seen other people do it and I want to try it. So I'm going to start with a strip of the purple glitter cardstock. So purple, pink, not sure what color, somewhere in between. But I'm going to place that down, and that is going to be the delineator, I suppose, between the top of the card and the rest of the pattern paper. So I'm going to place down some glue, and I'm really just going to start assembling. This is the process of me just lining things up, and it's okay that I have excess hanging off. That'll obviously get snipped away, but I'm just trying to figure out to line up. I would recommend doing something like this with these colors on a white piece of paper so you can see the lineup better, because the black mat underneath was throwing me off a little bit. So yeah, that would just kind of help for the contrast. And again, putting down some more paper. And again, this is just not something I would normally do. I don't think I've done this ever. So I was really excited to kind of see how it was coming together. I wanted to pick some of the more white cardstock and some of the cardstock, the paper that had a lot of black in it. This way it was able to offset each of the other colors. All right, so now I'm going to trim all this down, and I decided to trim it down on all the sides as well because I wanted to get this just really nice, clean look. I did take a microfiber cloth and wipe away the flower embossing because I had a lot of that powder left from my powder bag. So I definitely made sure to do that. And I just really like, after I trim this down, the clean look. I'm going to take some fun foam that already has stick-it adhesive on it from scrapbook.com, and I'm going to lay this. This will get rid of any of that warping I might have gotten from the embossed flower, which wasn't a lot. I have my new Wagner heat tool, and it's got 2 settings, and I always emboss on the higher setting, even though you may have read not to. I do, and it hardly warps my paper, and it embosses super quick. So it hasn't burned it or haven't had any issues embossing on my higher setting. But just be aware of that. Be careful always with your heat gun. I'm going to finish off this card with stickles. So I went through, and just where you might see shading if this were colored, I added stickles. So around the edges of the leaves of the petals, and then also of the leaves. So that was my final embellishment there. And that will do it for this card as well. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this video to check out this kit. Hopefully it inspired you to try things that are new, to really maximize the products that you are getting, and to see how things work together. I'll list everything I used below in the description. If you want to go check out the kit, the link will be down there as well. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.